trying to
not here to
hold your
talk about
questions back on Chris.
yeah. Okay. So there, that was it was exciting for me. It might not be exciting to hear about. That's why I tell stories to my kids all the time and they're just like, whatever, whatever. Okay. So Mita, welcome aboard. Here we are. We're back for another one of our weekly talks about security and keeping people's networks safe. Mita, I'm so inspired to be presenting with you today.
Thank you so much, Chris. I think every week when we come back, it gets even more exciting because now we're covering some ground. We're going back to your 1990s stories and then we're trekking back. But no, being a professional hacker, you've been in this space,
No,
you know
don't even
nuances.
call me that.
You know the nuances, and who better than to chime in with on this topic than you. And I feel quite inspired every time I hear a story from you, and I'd like to bring it to all of people who are here today, just to see what else we can learn from you, and what we know from this side of the shop, right, as managed service providers, what we can help you with, and just good to be educated about what we're doing here, right? So good to
Well,
kick this off with you. Thank
what
you,
do you say we
Chris.
get into it? I don't do as much hacking as I used to anymore. But I still do security consulting for companies when it's needed, but my business has definitely changed over the years, but if needed, I'll do it. Mita, for those who don't know, Mita, Mita, one of the things I love about you and what you do is how you are able to go into any business, and no matter how complex their systems are or how duct taped together. You and I have had conversations about this, about how when people just duct tape together different systems, whether they're consumer off the shelf, professional, or a combination of the two, you go in and make sense of all of it for them and get everything in order from their tech, not just their security, but their business continuance, disaster recovery, patch management, software updates, hardware. Boy, I just really am inspired by how you do it. So happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, no, it still surprises me how sometimes people, these small businesses still live in a world that they think IT is an expense, but I think IT is an investment. And I think as we talk more about this, hopefully they see value in all the things that we do as a managed service provider as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. For those of you who have joined us, a couple of people have identified you can chat with us in a couple of different ways. You can use the chat function if you want to chat with us, and that if you do use the chat function, everyone will see it. Important to understand that if you happen to use chat, unless you send it directly to me or to Mita, everyone will see your chat. So if you have something that you want to say that's private, you can use the Q&A for that. When I read messages or when Mita reads messages, she might say your name if it's in the chat, but we will never say your name if it's in the Q&A. And that's kind of something important that I should mention. Like, security is not a we're at work and we're secure. For me, as somebody who's done security as a job, security is one of those things that's everywhere. We were talking about our moms just a little while ago. Like, it's everywhere for me. And I'm very, very strict with security. In my household, like, my phone is my phone and no one touches my phone. And my wife and I have this, we can use each other's phones, but I get very uncomfortable with using other people's technology. And I have it's just, we're very strict. I don't want my kids using my tech because who knows what they're going to click on, So it is a holistic approach. And I think phishing is one of those things, because phishing targets people and tries to get them in their moment of weakness. And Meet, I don't know if you know this or not, but 95% of successful cyber attacks start with a phishing email, an email that somebody got and it tricked them. And then the
It
cyber
is the
attack happened.
easiest way to get to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the attacks that happen is not because you didn't have your security tools in place. It's because someone didn't pay attention to that phishing email.
Yeah. So let's first define what email phishing is, because I want everybody to understand it. And in the hacker community, things always get weird spelling names. So phishing with the PH is very much like fishing with an F, where you're casting a net or you're casting a line and you're trying to hook something. But phishing with a PH in the hacking world is what's known as social engineering and social hacking. And in social engineering and in social hacking, I'm doing more than just trying to penetrate your network with software and get into your network. I'm relying on human weakness. Hackers are relying on human weakness to gain sensitive information that makes it much easier for me to get in. Bank account details, usernames and passwords. I can social engineer people to send me money. Not me because I do it ethically, but if someone's paying me to see if someone will do it, I can social engineer and be very persuasive that I'm one of your vendors and you have an overdue account, and if you don't pay me, then there's going to be legal action. Like that's social engineering. It's me understanding how people will respond to certain messaging, and we'll talk about that today with the kind of messaging, the sense of urgency, so that I can get them to reveal things to me, make it much easier for me to get their
I call
networking,
them,
get their information.
yeah, I think we call them clickbaits, right? Whenever there's a clickbait, like
Yeah.
read this or open this in order to get this, we should be wary of those emails.
And so this does include things like emails, texts, fake login pages is a real big one right now because people using AI can spin up a web page to look identical to a fake login page. I talked about this one last week. You can go and buy an off-the-shelf router and hack into the core of that off-the-shelf router and put a little web server on it. Then you can take that router with a portable power supply, put it all into a backpack, and go sit in a Starbucks. And you can just create the name of that network on that Wi-Fi router. You can make it Starbucks high speed free Wi-Fi. Make it super attractive, not just Starbucks Wi-Fi. Oh, I want the high speed Wi-Fi. And when someone attaches to it, the web server fires and a Google authentication page shows up saying, log in with your Google account to get access. So they'll put in their Google username and their password. They'll submit it. It gets stored in my little hacked router in my backpack, and I can sit there all day long collecting people's Gmail accounts. And now that I have their Gmail
Absolutely.
accounts, I can try to log into banks. I can try to log into Facebook. I can try to log into everywhere because I know their password and I know their email address, which they probably use. How many of you are like this? You use the same password everywhere.
I was just talking to a friend of mine this morning. I said, it's not hard with so much information floating about us, right? And floating on the net. It's not hard to put two and two together. And they only need maybe out of 5 credentials. If you can provide 3, they'll let you pass, right? So it's so important that we be the champions of our identity and
Yeah.
make sure that we're not just putting it out anywhere without knowing where we're putting it out.
In last week's conversation, we talked about how AI is making hacking and compromise even faster because the tools they can self replicate, they can adjust themselves in real time. But now with phishing, one of the things that was easy like 5 years ago was you could tell by reading an email that this wasn't written by a professional. You could look for language patterns because it's always someone in a foreign country that's writing to you and their command of English just wasn't there. But now with AI, they're having Chat GPT write these things, and the language patterns aren't there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
All right.
level, the ground is set for everybody. It's the same level ground, and everybody gets to see the same kind of professional messages that AI puts out for us.
Yeah. Right. So let's talk about some very common phishing attacks and that happen on small businesses. Credential harvesting is a real big one. And I just talked about that. It's getting your username and password for things like Office 365 or your bank or your CRM, anything that's web based. Then there's business email compromise. This is huge, where I can create emails that go out to your staff that look like I'm you or your CEO, and I can impersonate you, or even easier is if I can impersonate one of your vendors. Like imagine that you had a vendor that had the name Revco. I'm just making that up, like revco.com. I could go out and register the domain revco.co, and I could get the name of the person who does the billing in revco.com, and I can create that account on revco.co and start emailing your people saying, hey, you didn't pay your latest invoice for $1,400. Here's an online place where you can go pay it right now. And I can just
Yeah.
all day
Yeah.
long. Now, Mita, one more point, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but imagine if I was really social engineering. Imagine if I sat in the coffee shop across from your office watching for the Revco van to show up, and the Revco van shows up, is there for 2 hours, then they leave, and now I fire off that email. Boy, my likelihood of
Absolutely.
getting money from you is strong. Go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, no, 2 days ago, Chris, what happened was one of our clients, she sent us an email, and the subject of the email was Matt and Sebastian. That's phishing itself, right?
Yeah.
And then she said, "Can you look into this? This one looks like it's a spam email." And so my tech went into it and started looking. It was a legit email address. The domain was legit. But when you go and register for the, so they were asking you to register for a conference. When you click on that link to go and register for the conference, that was not correct. That was not legit. So luckily we went through the entire email and cross-verified everything that they were asking us to click on. But see how that turns out. The subject sounds scary. I mean, not legit in itself. And then on top of it, everything else looked fine. So you would go ahead and register, and that wasn't the page you were supposed to be in.
So for
So
everybody here, what happened in that case was someone, a hacker, didn't compromise the company. They compromised the vendor's email system. So now I don't have to register the .co. If I can compromise, let's say revco.com, let's say I can compromise their email system. Now I get into their CRM. I've got their whole client list. All I have to do is make one change to the invoice to send it to my bank as opposed to Revco's bank. Just make that one change. And I can either send out a bunch of invoices myself, or I can just sit back and let them send out invoices. And the people that use
it's rerouted.
ACH, right? All of their legitimate business is now being paid into my bank account. I let that run for a week, and then I go back and I change it back. And it's going to be a month before they're like, hey, why did we lose a week's worth of revenue? They'll never find me.
Yeah,
They'll never find
right.
me.
So,
Mm-hmm.
something to take away from that example is that even though the domain may look right, keep reading through the email, keep watching for all the links that they're asking you to click on, because that's important, right? It may be embedded, it may not be as obvious as you think it is.
And that's something called invoice fraud. And then there's also malicious attachments. Opening a PDF or a Word doc or something that has some sort of a script is a small piece of software that if you open a compromised document, it might execute that software. And in a lot of cases, you won't know that compromise has happened for 6 months or 9 months. So you think you just opened a PDF and then you went about your way and something, oh, that PDF didn't open. It was weird, but maybe they'll send it to me again. But no, there's no skeleton that pops up on your screen laughing at you, or nothing like that.
Exactly.
These
Yeah,
scripts are so sophisticated, they'll sit dormant for 6 months. And then
yeah,
one day somebody will flip a
yeah.
switch and they'll own you. In hacker world, I'll put this in the chat. When somebody has compromised you, PWND is the language that they use. That came from when a hacker compromises you, you're owned. They say they own you. Somebody mistyped owned one day in the hacker community. We're going back 40 years now. Somebody mistyped owned with a P and they forgot the ED, and that became the language of being compromised. So
Nice.
if you ever see that, that's what that
That
means.
means you're owned. I have
I
one
should,
more story to add to that. So my CPA last year, he came to me with 2 laptops and he goes, "Can you just get rid of these laptops?" He goes, "I have a story." He goes, "My wife, she hit on some antivirus pop-up that came up at home, and they're an older couple, and she hit on that antivirus, and she goes, I don't know how, but they got connected with some people who then told her to do certain things. But after a month, that whole information made it to his bank account, and the bank called him and said, whatever you've done, go retrace, take that offline, because someone's got all your credentials." And that was through antivirus clicking and then connecting with people. So
That's
that's
wild.
a
Boy,
yeah,
that's wild. Lucky that they had you. I have a story about my CPA that I'll share with you in a little while, but I want to get back to this. Okay, so let's talk about common phishing types for small businesses. So this is an example of a phishing email. And what we do is, I just grabbed a bunch of these examples from online. What we do is we look for indicators that this might be a phishing email. So the key indicator that you would look for in this one is, this one came from LastPass security notice, but you notice that the email address is not lastpass.com, but the hacker created a domain, secdom.co. They just registered that domain, and then they made a subdomain called lastpass.secdom.co. I just made that up, but by doing this, I could do this on my domain. Anybody who owns a domain can create a subdomain very easily and attach email to it. So the casual observer would glance at this and say, oh, right after the @ symbol is LastPass, this has got to be legit. But it's a subdomain of a hacker's domain. So that's the key indicator here. And that's something that I want you guys to look out for, stuff like that. The other things to look out for is this secure website. You would want to, this is a hyperlink. You would want to hover over this and take a real hard look at what that URL is before you clicked on it and did anything. Probably be the same thing here. And then another one, very, very simple to look for, is Dear LastPass user. Well, if you're a LastPass user, they've got your first name. So for security reasons, they would probably put your first or your first and last name here. This is a subtle indicator that this is hacked. Now, some other things in here, Mita. If you read this, we wanted to alert you that recently, well, why is that word recently in there? Why are there the commas in there? That's an unneeded word, but it's trying to tell you that there's something urgent going on. Our team discovered and immediately blocked suspicious activity on our network. Some users' vault data was taken, including email addresses and passwords. That all seems fine. To be sure that your information was not compromised, we've built this secure website. They had to build a secure website. That's suspicious in and of itself, where you can enter your LastPass login information and we can tell you if your account was one that was compromised. Hold on a second. I got to go log in somewhere for you to tell me? No. That's suspicious. We apologize for the inconvenience, but we ultimately believe this will better protect LastPass users. Thank you for your understanding and for using LastPass. So you've got to read these things and say, well, why would they have to build this? And why would I have to log in for them to tell me? That's all very suspicious in this.
So multiple takeaways, right? So
multiple red
touch
flags.
points. Right. They're making you click on multiple touch points, right? You could have, either clicked there or, picked up on the recent words. So there's so many things to look out for: the language, the clickbaits, all of that.
Yep.
Good example.
Here's another one. This one's impersonating monday.com. You can see right away. It came from shareddocument.com. So it didn't come from monday.com. So that's a red flag right there. You're invited to join a board. Board is capitalized. Not sure it should be. And then it says nothing, lowercase a, added your team, everyone at. Like, this whole line here is suspicious. To the one, immediate items to address board. See the board now. Board here is lowercase. So there's a continuity error there. That would be suspicious to me. And then here's the sense of urgency. Everyone else has already joined with an exclamation point. So they're trying to get you to move by telling you that everyone else has already joined. So this lot of suspicious stuff in here that you have to look at. This one's
a big one. This one's a big one. Even I've seen this one on mine.
This one's a real big one. Now, this was sent to an admin because they want to get admin privileges. So they use the word phish, high severity alert. Probably not. Probably high security alert, but not high severity alert. And then they use phish to make you, to terrify you if you're the admin for this. And Mita, you know this as well as I do. A lot of people are admins to their Office 365 that aren't, they're not highly technical people. They're just the ones who pay the bills and set up the users. So what
Absolutely.
they're trying to do here is they're trying to scare them. So a high severity alert has been triggered. Phish delivered due to tenant or user override. What? What? Severity high, activity protection, one message, and then we don't really know what's going on here. Once you click the view alert details on something like this, it's going to present you with a fake Office 365 page asking you to log in, and they're going to get your admin credentials at that point. And so, that's kind of terrifying, but right away, right up here, email-records.com is not a Microsoft domain. And if let's say they did Microsoft but misspelled, if they did that, you can very easily contact Microsoft and say, is this one of your domains? And if Facebook does that, you can go to a page on Facebook, and Facebook will tell you all of the domains that they use. So
And just to clarify for those that may not know what domain is, the domain would come after the @ sign. So it would be,
thank you,
so say if
Mita.
it's my address, it would be at TeamLogic IT, right? So that TeamLogic is the domain. So what you want to do is always copy that domain if you're not sure of it, paste it in another browser and
Yep.
see if it's a legit email, a legit domain, and you'll be able to see if it's flagged.
Yeah, that's
Once
a
you
really good point. What she's saying is take everything after the @ symbol and put it into a web browser and see if it comes up as a real website and see what's there. A very good tip, Mita. Let's talk about some data, the financial impact of things like this. Small businesses lose over $100,000 per successful phishing attack on average. Recovery time, get ready for this. 23% of businesses never fully recover. I've seen this happen firsthand. And one in four
It's a
small
lot of
businesses will,
money that they're scanning.
yeah, one in four
So
businesses will be targeted this year. That'll go up because it's so much easier to do now. So then there's the operational damage. Data breaches. Think about if your customer information got out. Imagine if they got into your CRM. That's why we got to be super vigilant with this stuff. How are you going to explain to your employees that all of their information now got out because Nancy clicked on a link on an email? I don't know if you actually have a Nancy working for you. Your reputation damage. This stuff gets out. So what the hackers will do is they'll get all your customer information and then they'll hold you hostage. They're like, hey, I'm going to release this unless you pay me 100 grand. So loss of customer trust. If you don't pay, your business relationships go away. You could face regulatory compliance, especially if you're holding on to, sensitive data, HIPAA information or GLB, Gremley-Spliley information. You're hanging on to that. There's legal complications. That's why 23% of businesses go out of business after something
exactly.
like this.
Yeah.
Mita, we
And we were
talked.
talking about this last week, Chris, right? That when they hold you ransom, there is so much information that they hold on to, and companies don't want that leaked. They don't want other people to know that they were
Mhm.
they were hacked and their information is compromised. So some of this is not even reported. Many companies are not even reporting it. So what data we have is just that which has been reported. So imagine those companies that are not reporting, and I'm sure there's so many more. So that statistic is, I think, up more than what we're seeing right now.
I don't want to be an alarmist, but I will share with you an incident that I was involved in. Someone fished, they got access to a CRM, they got all of the client data, very sensitive stuff, and they contacted the business owner and they said, we have your stuff. Here's a sample of it to prove that we have it. We want $75,000 and we won't release it on the internet. So they paid the 75 grand. They got an email a week later saying, we're another hacker group. We hacked the first hacker group and we took it. And now we have it. It wasn't another hacker group. It was the same hacker group using different names because now they know that you'll pay. So they know you'll pay. They're going to come at you. And then another one, we'll talk about this when we talk about scams, but it's a recovery phishing where you get phished and you're threatened. Someone else apparently comes along and says, hey, we're going to take care of this for you, pay us. But it's just the same person. And they're just hitting you from multiple angles because they realize that you'll pay. I don't know, Mita, do I get a little too excited about this? It's
This is you.
kind of wild. So, some case study examples: businesses compromised through fake invoice. So, fake vendor invoice. I talked about this. I social engineer who your vendors are, and then I create invoices, fake invoices from those vendors to extract money from you. It's the simplest way. So here's an example of one. And this is an example of some email. We all get emails like this. So this is a vendor that has a money request. And if you look at how this is written, first, it's an interesting amount, right? That's a pretty decent amount. So you're going to pay attention to it. Not like it's $10. And then the note says, don't recognize this seller. Contact the support team immediately at this phone number. Guess what? That's not PayPal's phone number. That's the hacker's phone number. So you're going to call into them and they're going to masquerade as PayPal. And they're going to say, oh, well, okay, hold on a second. Let's get into your PayPal account. We're going to need your password. And now they own you. They own your PayPal. If you do not reach out, we will proceed with the transaction. So that is an urgency message trying to get you to move as fast as possible. Pay now is going to bring you to a masqueraded account. Don't recognize this request. They're going to have this learn more right here. And that's going to go to everything here is going to bring you to something that's masquerading as PayPal in an attempt to get money from you, in an attempt to get your PayPal account. So that's an example. That's a case study example of what you will see. You might have already seen these kind of things that they're just trying to phish your account information. This is an example of I know the law firm this happened to. Client data through theft, through identity theft. And so with this one, they got this. I wonder if anybody can spot what's the key indicator here that this is faked. They got this message saying that Hotmail customers are being upgraded to Outlook.com and that they have to log in and reactivate their account. Now, there are two indicators here. First one is the originating email. It comes from outlook-support.dk. So as Mita told you earlier, you could just copy that and put it into a web browser and see what comes up. Probably nothing. And then this, even though it looks like a legitimate hyperlink, it's masquerading as a hacked hyperlink. Behind it, I can't do it because this is just an image, but if you were to hover over this in your email, the real link would show up. And so they're trying to get your Outlook credentials. What do you think about that, Mita?
This one's an easy one to spot. I mean, as hard as it looks, as disguised as it looks, this one's an easy one to spot because of the email that's coming in. Yeah. I
Wire
wanted to share
transfer.
a story about a fraud, but we'll talk about it once we get into examples. But you go ahead first.
So check out this one. This is like legit. This was a real email that went out. I didn't handle this case, but I have access to this. So can you do me a favor? There's a pending invoice from one of our vendors. I'm on holiday and I need you to take care of this. So this is a fake email from the CEO of the company to someone who can transfer money. And some of the indicators are they contacted me and I told them to send through the email to you as well. Check spam filter in case it's accidentally blocked. So what happened was, this is an impersonation of a CEO or of a CFO or CTO emailing somebody who has the paycheck, has access to the bank account, and then under guise of a vendor, or a provider, they sent another invoice. So all of these things are happening at once. And the person's just seeing all of this. This needs to be done today. So make it a priority. So there's that urgency fear. And if you could do that, it would be a huge favor. Any questions, reply to this email. I can't take calls right now, so just stick to replying to this email. That's a little bit of grooming to condition them into how they should be replying to this to make sure that it happens. So this will happen with paying a vendor. This will happen. I've seen cases where CEOs, fake masqueraded CEOs, will say, "I need you to get a bunch of gift cards and send me all of the gift card numbers because I'm going to send them out to our top clients." Those kind of things happen over and over and over again. Another one, this is another example, just a very short one. "I need you to send out an urgent bank wire this morning ahead of off time today. How soon can this be done so I can furnish you with the beneficiary information? You got to read into these things real careful. And this is a case of don't trust anything, double check everything. I'll tell you a story and then you can tell yours. My accountant was taking care of some important business stuff for me last week, and I had to do a DocuSign. And the email that he sent over to me asking me to log in and do the DocuSign, everything looked legit until you know what? I'm going to show it to you. I'll show it to you. Mita, you tell the story. I'm going to bring it up and show you.
So this morning I was in a networking event, and I was talking about how I'm going to be doing my presentation. And this one lady, she called me right away. She goes, "I was so excited to hear that you're going to be doing a presentation on this one," because she goes, "This happened to me last week." She goes, "Believe it or not, she works for a company that gives out loans, and they collect information, and she knows all the things that happen in the company. She's aware of it. So one day she got an email saying, you've applied for unemployment, click here." And she sent it to her company saying this is phishing. 2 weeks later, again, she got an email saying you applied for unemployment. Here's your credentials. You have to log in here. And again, she sent it out as phishing, thinking her company is training them. You know how they send out random information to see if your employees know what phishing emails look like. Turns out she was actually hacked, and someone had already stolen all her information and applied for unemployment on her behalf using her name. Can you imagine loan officer who's ever so careful about all the information? They had to go through this. So none of us are spared, right? We have to be extra vigilant. And I was going to say one other thing, Chris. You know how we have HTTP in the early days? We used to have HTTP, backslash, two backslashes, and then you can put the address. Well, now you have to look out for HTTPS. S is the secure network. So whenever you're going somewhere, make sure you're not just going to any random HTTP sites. You want to make sure you're at that S. Just one more little nuance that you want to be paying attention to, even as you navigate your web browser and all.
So smart. All right, I just did a screen capture of the email that my accountant sent to me. I want to make sure his name doesn't show up because, let's see, you guys who are here, you're all smarter than when we started. What caused me to raise an eyebrow? Okay, what caused me to raise an eyebrow on this? This came through, this was last week. Hey, I was just doing my 2024 taxes. Don't worry about it. I filed the extension. Or he did at least. So Chris and Amy's my wife, please sign and date the e-file authorization forms and my engagement letter. Once the initial signer completes the DocuSign, a separate email will be sent out to the spouse for signature. Call me with any questions. Thanks. And then his name. Tell me in the chat or tell me in the Q&A, why did I text him and ask? I double checked to make sure he really sent me. What did I notice in this?
May I take a shot at it?
Hold on.
Wait, we
I'm
have
looking in the Q&A.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so wife is 50% owner of the business. So we're co-owners of this business. So that I did that to make her stay married to me. I'm kidding. We had 4 kids, so she stays married to me. What raised my, somebody got it. What raised my eyebrow was the closing, the thanks, the non-capitalized T in the thanks. Mita, everybody here, I saw that and I was like, wait a minute. It's just small inconsistencies like that you have to look out for. So I texted him and I'm like, dude, did you just send me a e-file DocuSign? He's like, yeah, why are you asking? I'm like, because your thanks doesn't have a capital T. And he wrote back and he goes, oh, my kids complain about that all the time. And I'm like, it's not your kids I'm worried about. I'm worried about your clients thinking that this is a phishing attack. And he called me immediately and he's like, that is really smart. And he thanked me a ton for it. He didn't pay me. Wish he had, but should have charged him for that. So anyway, those are some of the things to look out for. So we've talked about this a lot, but these are some things that you should be looking. Check the email address versus the display name. Look for subtle misspellings. Like they'll do this, like AmaOZN.com. They'll register that domain. Look at the reply to address if it's different than the sender address. Those are some of the things to look for. Urgent language. I think I've drilled that into you, but they want you acting quickly on this so you don't have time to think about it. Generic greetings we talked about, grammatical errors, awkward phrasing, suspicious attachments, all of these things super, super important for you to be looking at. Technical indicators, as we've talked about, mismatch URLs, shorten URLs. Anytime that I do not open these things, Mita. Do you open these things, these shortened URLs?
I do not.
You do
Absolutely
not
not.
know
Show
what's happening.
yourself, or I'm not sure. No, I'm not clicking on it if
Right?
you don't show.
For those of you who are curious, these are URL shorteners where they can take a malicious URL and shorten it to something that, like Bitly. Many people know what Bitly is. This is a big one right here.
Yeah.
This PDF.exe. I talked about this with
Yeah.
the email addresses, but in this case, if you're expecting a PDF and it looks like a .pdf, like I think this would fool some non-sophisticated people. But what they've done is they've renamed an executable file, an exe, with they put a PDF before it. This PDF has no impact on the fact that this is an executable file. And so you would open this thinking it's a PDF and it would just error out, but it would install malicious software. If you want an example of what that might be, I used to use this software called Sub 6 or Sub 7. It was either Sub 6 or Sub 7. One of those is a music group and one of them is a hacking software. I think it was Sub 7. And I used to disguise it as a PDF or as a video file, and when people were paying me to penetrate their networks. And I could completely own a network just if somebody just clicked on that once. So
here what we're trying to show is two different extensions are clumped together, and you want to be aware of that, right? It's either going to be an exe or it's either going to be a PDF. You can't have both together.
Hey, Mita, you want to do a quiz? I have 3 examples. Let's see who can spot. What would cause you to say, maybe I shouldn't click on this if you saw this one? I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll watch for in the Q&A or in the chat. We got enough people here. What would you spot on this? Did you know I was going to give them a quiz today, Mita?
You want to make it larger, blowing it. Oh, okay. There you go.
There you go. Yep, somebody got it right. Somebody got it right in the Q&A. And it's the domain here. Okay, it's the domain. It's supposedly a Google email from Google Drive. And then another one has shared the following PDF. Who has shared it? There's nothing like who, nobody. So a lot of trickiness here. I would hover over this, which we can't hear, but yeah, the domain is the biggest indicator there. Good job. All right. What would you look at here? There's a lot of indicators here. I'll tell you, we know it's the domain.
We have a lot of people sitting in on the workshop today. I'm sure someone's going to get it today.
So we know the domain, like PayPal-accounts.com. That's pretty obvious. Good. Yep. Dear PayPal customer, look at that. Somebody said customer is not capped. Even if they were doing PayPal customer, they would probably capitalize the customer. That's a great pickup on that one.
It's a great one. Yeah. They picked that one. Yeah, very nice.
So another one here is odd language. We are sorry to inform you. They're not sorry. Like why? No one's going to tell you they're sorry. That you no longer have access to PayPal's with a backwards apostrophe here. I don't know. I would spot that. Advantages. You no longer have access to the advantages like purchasing. That comma is not needed there. So that's a grammatical thing, and sending and receiving money. Purchasing, comma, and sending. So too many ands. So this whole paragraph here is a wreck. So we believe
that's such a good example, Chris, right? Because we're learning to read through the emails. So often we're so busy, we're just scamming through the emails, right? So, maybe this example will help us to just spend a minute or two before we start, clicking or going about our business, because these things sitting in your mailbox is a problem, right? Even if you're not clicking, they've got your email address. They'll find you another way. If you didn't click on that bait today, tomorrow they'll just send you something else to click on.
This whole thing is a wreck. It should say your name, that non-capitalized there. Look at this, a comma and then a capital U. So that's kind of a wreck. You have 24 hours to solve because you're a detective, right? You've got to go find your magnifying glass and you have to solve this problem. They're not sorry. PayPal's advantages, purchasing, comma, and sending. We're missing a comma there, maybe. We believe that your account is in danger. So they don't know if it's dangerous or not. So the other one is the 24 hours. So this thing is a complete wreck. Kind of a cool one. Good job, everybody, coming together on that one. Maybe if we all team up, we can solve phishing. Mita, I don't know, maybe. All right, I gotta get back here. I have to, hold on, I have to clear all my pencil marks. I don't know how to do that. They usually disappear on their own. I don't know. I don't know how to clear all my pencil marks. I just got to do Command Z until they all go away one by one. Okay. All right, friends. What do you notice in this one? This is the last one. Don't worry. It's not like a final exam. I'm not going to put you through any more of these. I just wanted to give you 3 examples to help you. What do you notice here? Yep. Okay.
We have a winner.
Yep. There's a couple here. So
Yeah.
the domain here. Yeah. And then this actually has the example that I talked about earlier, which is when you hover over what looks like a legitimate domain. Yep, the Amazon spelling, good job on that one. When you hover over what looks like a legitimate domain, you hover over it and you can see it's directed somewhere else. This is the biggest one to look for, friends. When you get emails with links, hover over those links and see where it's actually going. And if it's a bit.ly like this, I wouldn't click on it. There are websites you can go to put in a bit.ly and it will reverse engineer it and tell you what the domain is. I just wouldn't do it at all. And then probably this one would do the same exact thing. Let's read this one. Due to the increasing number of digital criminal acts that occurred under our name, we want to warn you of these practices. So they're warning you of practices and that you make a report using the following link so that we can contact you directly. Well, they did contact you directly. So there's just a lot of suspicious stuff going on there. Great job, everybody.
Everyone did really well here.
Yep.
Very nice.
So I think, let's just drive these points home. Think before you click, verify. We taught you some ways to verify, use direct navigation, type the websites in instead of clicking on them. From a business level, this is Mita. This is where your stuff, email filtering.
And we take pride in what kind of support and security we provide our customers, right? We make sure that we have this email protection around all emails, as well as the security around their domain. Want to make sure their firewall and their VPN and all that is secured before we leave the premise, right? That's the first thing we do when we onboard a client. And if they see a phishing email that comes through, they let us know. We mark that as a domain not to block. So we block that domain and then we mark those people. We actually take very, very seriously every email that comes to us and to our clients, and especially when it's reported to us, we'll go ahead and investigate. So we'll spend a little bit more time instead of just saying, "Hey, don't worry, you're secure," right? So there's as a managed service provider, this falls in our domain, and we make sure that we're taking care of all the needs of our customer, from the minute emails to the big server details.
Yeah. mean, somebody has direct messaged me. They're looking for a calendar link if they'd like to talk. So if you want to just pop that into the chat.
Yeah, I'll go ahead
I
and
think
do that.
guys, the biggest thing here is actually all of these things because it's a multiple phased approach. You want to be filtering, but if if I were trying to compromise the network, I'm starting with the humans because I can get past humans pretty easily, especially humans that haven't been trained. And so the training, the awareness for your staff, having someone come in and or you showing them examples like this is super super important. I tell the story of a manufacturing company up in New Hampshire that brought me in after they were attacked. And somebody clicked on one link in one email. They clicked one link and it locked down their entire network. Manufacturing company that used CAD drawings to produce their stuff. They were weeks before they could get their CAD stuff back because it just one click in one email locked everything down. So then, I mean, if you're finding that calendar link, you can just pop that into the
Yeah,
chat. Who the
it's right
person
here.
they sent it privately, so I don't want to say names.
Yeah.
Um, you know, security tools. There are budget friendly options for this. It's important to do an analysis of how important it is that you stay in business. And so when I've worked with companies, I've done simulations where I would send phishing emails. I would send fake phishing emails to see if I could get people to click. The one that I did that was the most successful, it was so silly. I impersonated the CEO of a company, a very, very big company that you would know the name of. And I sent an email to all. And in the email, there was a dancing kangaroo um, graphic. And I said, click the kangaroo to watch him dance. And when they clicked it, it went to a web page with the dancing kangaroo. But I had a payload on that link that captured all of their information. I got their email addresses and their passwords for their email server. And they hired me to do this. I put it all into a spreadsheet. I handed it over to my contact and I said, here are the email addresses and passwords of 40% of your staff who clicked on the dancing
You
kangaroo.
know, Chris, one of the things that we do along with offering our managed services is we help to train the employees. So we'll go in, we'll bring pizza at lunchtime and we'll have a presentation and we'll walk through these slides and we'll walk through certain, loopholes that they're probably not seeing. And, some of it we went over today. But
Yep.
this is exactly what we do. If you become, if you choose to work with us, that's exactly what we do. We handhold, we feel the responsibility and we'll take it. We do not take that lightly.
I want to be super clear. The intent of our conversation today is to educate and help people. And I know that if people get on your calendar, they're not getting on a sales call. They're getting on
Oh, yeah,
they're
yeah,
getting on a
yeah.
call that will help them. Right.
It's just nice to talk to someone who knows a little bit more, has the tools or the expertise to either guide you or just give you, a roadmap saying here, if you just follow these things, you'll be in a better place. So it's good to talk to someone. It's not always about selling or buying, right?
Yeah. And Mita, I see that you put your calendar, but you only sent it to me. So I'm going to take
Dude.
care of that. You only sent it to me in the chat. I'll pop it in. That's a legitimate Calendly address. You can rest assured we're not going to try to capture you. Although we're not being paid to do that. So not just for the person that asked for it privately, but if anybody wants to hop on a call with Mita and talk about your, just brainstorm about what you've got going on, not just for security, but business continuance and your tech and all of that. That's why she has that calendar because I know Mita, I know you love to meet with people and talk about this stuff. Not a sales call in disguise, Mita. We know that.
No, this absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, the more people that are educated, because I saw this, going back to my mom, I was like, I wish people would, have some place where they could learn. And we honestly go to senior centers and teach them much of this because everybody has a cell phone now and everybody wants to click on something. So we actually go to senior citizen homes and be like, okay, can we just sit with them and, high level, very high level,
Yeah.
we'll educate. So it's just my way of giving back to society, just
That's
educate
super
people.
nice of you. Super nice of you. I go to senior centers and I teach them how to dance the salsa. No, I know.
Whatever we have in our kitty, we bring it to them, right?
Yeah, whatever our capabilities are. One of the things that you can, if you decide to meet with Mita, or I have you leave with, is just create a culture of security. It's I talked about this earlier about how, security is an everywhere thing, because I say this all the time. The hackers have all the time in the world to compromise you. The hackers don't have a deadline to compromise you. When I was paid to do it by large companies, I would I would just do little bits every day. I wouldn't There was never like this flood of me trying to compromise. I just do tiny little bits every day, and because I had all the time in the world to do it. So just encouraging employees that they shouldn't be fearful to bring something to your attention, and make sure that you're keeping your software patched and updated, and establish protocols with your vendors, like I did with my accountant, where I verified that he was looking for information.
Yeah, no, uh, to add to a little bit to that is that, make sure that patching and, maintenance is happening. Even if you're doing it on your own, just make it a thing to look back at, maybe once a month, or once every couple of weeks. You want to make sure you have the latest patch, because that's the easiest way for hackers to get into your system. And you want to always encourage your employees to be open and truthful, and keep it a light environment, because things like this happen. We're turning a corner with technology, and different things happen at different points, right? It can be on your phone, it can be on your computer, it can be, any other device that you might be using. So be vigilant, be open, have an open environment, and talk about it. Even, weekly meetings that you have with your staff, just bring up the things that they saw that they would like you to alert the other people of. It's a good environment to foster.
We talked about this last week about how the AI is so prevalent right now in the hacking community because it makes things so easy and so fast. But also, there are protective mechanisms that are using AI to protect against the AI attacks. And the same will be true with phishing. One of the stats that we gave out last week said that I think this year alone, 43% of phishing attacks are now AI generated. So somebody who's trying to attack you doesn't even have to be present doing it. They can just set the software to go, and the software is going to learn about your people, and it's going to learn about your vendors. It's just going to go out there and figure everything out and try to find the easiest trajectory into your network. Scary. It is super scary. So here are some takeaways for you. Phishing is the number one threat to your business. It's not. It is the number one. There's no way around it, because it uses
I
the.
often say,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I often say, you can have the best security all around your house, right? But it's like leaving your front door open if one of your employee is not trained and decides to click on one of the phishing links, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important that not only do you guard your entire home, but also train the people who are in there. So human error is 95% there.
It's the human error. Mita, the human error is like the easiest one to get through, because the softwares are harder and harder to penetrate. Firewalls and things like that, they're super hard to get through. But if I can get through a human, because humans make mistakes. So the big takeaway, friends, as you leave here today, is it's your people. We are all subject to it. It's all of our responsibilities to get in front of this. So here are your action items, your success steps. I want you to review your email security settings, especially on if you're self-hosted email using Exchange, for example, or you have self-hosted email. You've got to check those security settings. If you're not self-hosted, you've got to review the security settings at the server level. Please establish vendor verification procedures. Mita, I know you have, and maybe, if they contact you, if you want a pre-established set of procedures, like you want a best practice document for vendor verification procedures, you don't have to do this alone. Just get a hold of Mita, and I've seen this, Mita. You can send over a vendor verification procedure that they can templatize and that they can establish with their vendors. It keeps the vendors safe.
Absolutely.
It keeps them safe. So if you just get a hold of Mita, either email, call, or get on her calendar. And for being here today, we'll get that vendor verification procedure for you. You want to
Absolutely.
train your employees, similar to what we did here today. and you want to make sure that you understand what the email security solutions are. Mita.
Yes, absolutely. And again, thank you, Chris, for bringing all this home. But all of this can be, uh, contained, right? We're not saying this is never going to go out of shape and it's never going to blow out of shape, but we want to make sure we understand it enough so that we can contain it for now. And then you want to talk to the people who know and understand a little bit more than you, and just cross-verify, right? Even the people that the vendors that you're talking to, your suppliers, you want to make sure the third connection is also verified, right? You want to be at the top of your game and make sure you're the guardian of your credentials.
There we go. I just put that offer into the chat as well to get that vendor verification procedure. I think that's super important.
Absolutely.
Save you a lot of hassle. So a couple of things as we're at the top of the hour. If you have a question, we're certainly here to, everybody that came stayed the full hour today. I'm super grateful for that because it's
Me
so
too.
important. I'm here to
Me
answer
too. Thank you
questions.
very much.
Yeah, we're here to answer questions if you have any. And if there's a topic that you would love for us to cover, I'd love to hear about it. We talked in the warm up. We talked about scams, identifying scams, which are kind of like phishing, but are a little bit different. They take a different flavor to them. We talked about creating one of those. We might redo this one because I had a lot of people message me telling me that they wanted to see it, and we don't do replays because we want people
Yeah.
here live. So for you guys, you have any questions? We hang around for a few minutes and answer them. And if there is a topic you would love for us to cover, not just about security, but about anything tech, let us know in the chat. And then if you don't have a question or you don't have a topic, I would love to know what your biggest takeaways were from our time together today. What's your opinion on computer antivirus programs, Mac versus PC? Mita, I have a feeling on those, but do you?
Yeah, we have a list of antivirus that we have supply our customers with. We have recommendations as well. We can definitely help you with that. I can provide a list to you.
Yeah.
And I would say, go ahead, you talk.
Yeah, they're good to have in place because they help protect against human error, right? So they're good to have in place because somebody clicking on a link or trying to open something that has a virus payload, they will protect you against virus payloads. Um, I think education and policy combined with digital protection is the best approach.
It's one layer of protection,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to add more layers to it.
Yeah. I like to have virus protection at the perimeter of a network so that
Right?
any executable coming into the network, whether it's through email, you might not even realize this, but your email servers will open your emails and will check attachments, will check links prior to it hitting your inbox. I like perimeter protection. I don't even want it coming onto my network because I know at the perimeter. So does that make sense, guys? What we're saying here is at the perimeter, before the email, before the website gets to your workstation, Mac or PC, everything is analyzed and anything malicious is blocked there. That means you and I only have to protect one thing at the perimeter. If antivirus fails or isn't patched or isn't updated, if it were to get through that, now we can compromise here. But if I can have solid protection here on the outskirts, on the perimeter, now I'm like super protected.
I want to emphasize on the solid protection because you do get, some software that is cheaper, and we might fall for a cheaper out of the box software. But I tell you that the kind of software and the robust engineering that we do here and the kind of software we offer has a ton of protection, right? It's at every level where we're reconfirming everybody who is entering. So you do want to pay attention. What you buy is what you get, right? If you're going to go for the cheaper products, you might not get as much protection, even though you think you have the antivirus on your machines.
So somebody says we were told that you don't need it with Apple. Is that accurate? So let me tell you why that is, why you were told that, and why in some cases you might not. Apple is extremely hard to put a virus on.
Right.
And the reason is Apple is a closed ecosystem. So when you have an Apple device, all of the chips, all of the components, the software, it's all closed and under Apple's control. So that makes it much more difficult to penetrate versus the PC ecosystem where you could have an IBM or a Dell or a white box, what we used to call white boxes, a self a device that you made yourself with components that came from a bunch of different places. And if I'm attacking your machine, I'm attacking chipsets, I'm attacking software, I'm attacking your network card or your Wi-Fi. So all of those things on the PC are outside of a closed ecosystem. And where cost is always a factor, a lot of times outside of that closed ecosystem, the chipsets are inexpensive or they don't have security built into them. But the reason we pay a premium for Apple products is because they come inside of a closed ecosystem. And so we pay the premium to have that higher level of security. So Apple has security baked into it. So then the question becomes, do I need antivirus with Apple? Well, from the hacker community, Apple used to be a very small target. So the hackers never went to create viruses for Apple products because the PC market is so vast, much bigger target, much easier to penetrate. But where Apple is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I will say it's just a matter of time before someone figures it out. So should you, as someone who's so focused on security, I can't say no. I say that when that time comes, the penetration will happen before you're aware of it.
Right. So long story short, yes, we always should put it.
Sorry.
Right.
Sorry
It
for the
doesn't.
long story.
No. I think it's an amazing story, and thank
Yeah.
you for breaking it down for us.
Yeah.
But I just feel that yes, we should have just that extra bit of caution, protection. It never hurts, right? One more layer never hurts us.
One more layer never hurts. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really glad you asked that question.
Very nice. Yeah.
Any more
Great
questions?
participation today,
Yeah.
right?
Great
We had a
questions
great
today.
participation today.
I'm wondering what was your biggest takeaway? I want to hear from you. What was your biggest takeaway from our time together today? And then Mita,
You can put it in chat. You can put it in Q&A.
I do tell long stories, don't I? Because we're beyond the top of the hour.
It's
You
been a good
in
conversation. Yeah. And don't forget to also type in, other topics that you'd like us to cover. We've been doing this for good 4 weeks now, and they've been doing great. We've just, talked about cybersecurity, AI and cybersecurity, and then we've come here with phishing information. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on today, this week.
Somebody's biggest takeaway was how easy it is to hack the human mind and emotions than the machine. Yeah. As someone I used to be paid to break into networks. Some of the ways that I could get past the human would just they would just dazzle you. I got past security once with a faked badge where you had to scan your badge to get into a campus. And I was able to get past that scan I had a fake badge, so I looked like I worked there, had my picture, had everything on it, had where the chip was. I should have had to scan it, but I had a bunch of Dunkin' Donut boxes and I'm fumbling around. Oh no, the clumsy dude. And I'm holding up the badge and, trying to hold it without all the donuts. And I held it up and the guard was like, oh, just walk around it. Cause I was like, oh, and he's like, walk around it. I got past and took a box of donuts, put it right on the desk. And I was like, thanks, dude. And just kept walking. And so the human saw the goofball clumsy guy who couldn't scan the badge, let me go around. And then instead of him saying, hey, he should have said, give me your badge, let me check you, let me scan you. Now he's like, I just got a dozen free donuts. I'm hitting all different parts of his brain where he's not thinking. He's now thinking about eating instead of, and it cost me.
And And that empathy factor, right? You're touching someone's heart and they want to
Yep.
give you empathy and they want to help you. And you're there and you're like, help me, I have so many things in my head. So easy. That was a good example.
And then I literally walked in, I put the donuts down somewhere and, wherever. And then I found, it was totally the donut, right? It wasn't empathy. It was the donuts. Somebody said, I put the boxes of donuts down. I found an open conference room that had 3 laptops in it. I closed all 3 laptops, put them in my bag, and I was out the door. And then I went back to my loft outside of Boston, and I spent the next couple of days breaking the passwords on those laptops. And then I brought it back to my contact there, and I'm like, here, there you go. Here's what I got. I always
Or
made
a
sure,
box of donuts.
Mita, I always made sure that no one was fired. I wanted people to be educated, not unemployed, right?
That's
So
right.
we have to fix policy. Somebody says identifying the phishing emails was their biggest, the ideas of identifying the phishing emails was their biggest takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Keep an eye
Very
out.
good
Keep an eye out
example.
for these things. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Mita, here we are. We're 9 minutes past the top of the hour. Literally everybody who came stayed. I'm so grateful for you guys. I hope you'll come back for more. I really do. I hope you'll all
Yeah.
come back for more. We'll bring you some more cool topics.
Yeah, keep joining us. We're going to try different times. So I think this is the middle of the week. We've tried this. We might try it another Friday and see if, we'll have more people wanting to join because it's a Friday. Everyone's in more relaxed mode and they might want to listen to phishing information more at that time. So we'll try a different time, but this is amazing. Thank you, Chris. I love all the examples that you put out. I love that you're my partner and you helped me with all this information on hacking and phishing and all that security stuff, right? So thank you very much for co-presenting
Well,
with me.
as
Thank
always,
you to everybody who attended.
yeah, always
very much.
such a pleasure to hang out with you today. I just put your calendar link in the chat one more time. If you want a couple of entrepreneurs sitting around talking about technology, if that sounds like fun to you, it certainly does to me. Just hop on Mita's calendar. Like I said before, it's not a sales call in disguise. It really is just sitting around talking tech. You already know if you already know if you want to work with her. So Mita, I'll let you close us out for the day.
Yes, thank you once again, everyone. I appreciate everybody coming. Come to me. We'll help you. We have an entire team here. We're a nationwide shop, right? So we're a franchise, and we have all the technologies and all the technology at our fingertips. Can absolutely help you bring everything home for you guys. So thank you again.